Good,
אני לא יודעת מה.
good evening,
רגע.
everybody. Just a minute. Good evening, everybody. רגע. Good evening, everybody. My name is Rachel. I'm from CareGivers Israel. I'm honored to be here to meet you all in this session. With us, Joan Jacobs, that she will follow for us and give us some tools to be less stressed in this terrible days. I will ask Mirit from the Population and Immigration Authority to say a couple of words. We all appreciate your work very much, and we are happy to be here. Please, Mirit.
Okay. So first of all, hi everyone. I'm sorry about my broken English. And I would like to say that I'm honored also to be here. And we are all appreciate your work. And we think that Israel now in a complicated situation that need all of us to gather together and to express what we're feeling in our job, in our home, in our origin home. So I'm happy to be here and to see all of you, and please open your cameras that we can see you all, your faces. And תודה לשותפים שלנו. Thanks for our partnership. Hi, everybody. And I wish all of us to have to study today and to get tools for our life and our situation here. And God bless you all.
Okay, thank you, Mirit. Joan, the stage is yours. Let's have, I hope, a very quiet evening together. And as I said, you have the link for the Zoom in the chat. So invite your friends that will join us too. Thank you very much.
So good evening, everybody. I'm Joan. I'll introduce myself in just a second. I just want to invite you personally to open your cameras. It's so much more fun to talk to live faces and not black boxes. Good. Some of you are doing that. That's great. Okay, so I'm just going to open the presentation and I'll introduce myself. Okay, so I'm Joan Jacobs. I'm an emotional healing specialist. I have nearly 40 years experience working with people. I support people who are dealing with physical disease, usually chronic and life-threatening disease, and any type of life crisis. As you can hear, I'm originally from the US, but I've been living in Israel for many, many years, since 1969. So I'm fluent in both language, and I live in Ashkelon, which is the highest rocket-targeted city. Some of the people here were evacuated. We had infiltrations. So I think I really can feel what a lot of you are going for. I imagine that being in a foreign country just makes it all the more difficult. But I think together we'll be able to learn how to handle it a lot better. Okay, so in addition to my clinical work, I taught for 20 years at the Faculty of Health Sciences at the Ben-Gurion University. I was also a senior lecturer and program coordinator at the Adar College of Complementary Medicine in Beersheba. And I also produced 2 international online conferences titled Non-Toxic Cancer Treatments. The English version is open to watch for free through my English website, which is on the bottom right corner of the slide. And a little thing I wanted to share is that I'm also black belt Taekwondo. So I do know a little bit about the Eastern culture through the Taekwondo. Not a lot, probably, but I do have a touch for it. Okay? So as general background, what I want to say is that, we talk about stress and we talk about anxiety and crisis. The current situation is different. It's bigger and it's a lot more challenging than, the regular everyday stresses and crisis situations. I mean, we've all been through crisis situations. I'm sure you have too. But what has happened in the past month is an ongoing situation that is huge, that is very, very big and strong. And by all acceptable definition, it qualifies for the definition of trauma. And it's both a personal and a collective trauma happening at the same time, which makes it a bit more complicated. I mean, the events are big, they're powerful, the emotions are very strong, very intense. There are people that are literally sort of speechless. It's like they're unable to fully grasp what happened. And it's like people are still in type of shock. And then we have all the other manifestations, be it sadness or fear and anxiety or depression, and all kinds of other emotions that are very unpleasant, yet they're very strong. Now, people's response to trauma varies, meaning that different people respond to trauma in different ways. But if we look for guidance in the work of world-renowned trauma experts, such as Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, there are two main important issues. One is that trauma affects the body and the mind to the same extent. Now, that means that even if you weren't directly affected by the physical attack, okay, you weren't working in the Gaza envelope settlements or even down south, nevertheless, the emotional trauma is registered in the body, and that can have long-term health implications, okay? So that's the first thing, that when you're affected by it, your whole system is affected, your emotions, your mind, and your body. And the second thing is that Dr. van der Kolk says, and he also showed in his work, that trauma is the most damaging when you're unable to act, okay? When you're unable to respond. Now, there's a biological reason for that, because when we're in stress, the body secretes stress hormones, and these stress hormones enable the two basic survival responses, which is either to fight or run away. Now, both of these actions involve physical activity, and the physical activity uses the hormones, so they're broken down. Now, when action is not possible, or if we don't act, we don't move our bodies in some way, the stress hormones build up in the body and ultimately turn into anxiety and panic. Okay, so I'm sharing this with you because later when I talk about the tools, you'll understand why I stress movement, why movement becomes so important. Now, another characteristic of the current situation is that it's going to take time to resolve. This is not a quick resolve kind of situation. The security situation is going to take time to resolve. And we're also going to need time to process and heal the trauma. And therefore, when we talk about dealing with the current situation, we must think in terms of long-term preparation, okay? We have to see how we can prepare to be with the situation relatively long-term, okay? Because it's not going to be resolved in a short time. Now, our body has specific mechanisms to deal with short-term and immediate threats, okay? The body has that capacity, but these mechanisms are unable to function long-term because they cause temporary disruption to the everyday maintenance of the body, such as the immune system, okay? So the whole logic of it is that when there's immediate threat, there's body mechanisms that are recruited and we can go, but we can go very short term. When we're talking about long-term stress, it's a whole different story, because the body can't stay in the survival mode for very long without compromising other very important functions, okay? So in long-term crisis, we have to monitor our resources, our physical resources, our emotional resources, so that we can withstand longer periods of time. And that basically means that we have to plan ahead, and then we have to follow the plan, okay? So for that reason, I'm going to be talking about what to do and what not to do, and how to organize yourself and your life so you'll be able to sustain the current situation for however much time will be needed. We really don't know how long this is all going to take to resolve, okay? So basically, we're talking about self-management, okay? From the word manager, like boss, we have to be our own bosses. Now, just as military actions need to be managed, otherwise there'll be chaos, the same is true in our personal lives, actually. And even though it may sound strange to compare our personal lives with military actions, but actually they work very much the same way. And I'm sure you'll see that it's much easier than it sounds, okay? Self-management starts from proactivity, a proactive approach. Now, proactivity is when we do things, we take action to either prevent or deal with problems. So it's about taking responsibility for ourselves and our lives and being our own boss, okay? So we have to organize our lives on all levels so that we can ensure the best possible level of functioning. Because organization gives a sense of order, of stability, and control, which is very important, especially in crisis situations when everything feels very chaotic, okay? Now, on the other hand, we have to keep in mind that not everything is in our control. So we need to be as proactive as possible in those areas that we do have at least a certain amount of control. It's like we want to kind of stretch the amount of control we have over our lives, but let go of what is not in our control, okay? So you have to differentiate between what is in your control and what is not in your control. And I must say that there's a lot that's in our control, really a lot more than what most people imagine. So there's a lot to be done. And there's a very large area where we can improve our feelings and our function. Okay, now another aspect of the current situation is because everybody's been affected by it, and you who are taking care of other people, there's a strong need to help and support others, which in many ways is bringing out very positive behaviors and a feeling of unity and togetherness. But we need to remember that in order for us to be able to be there for others, we must take care of ourselves, okay? Because if we don't, then we'll find ourselves depleted of energy, and we eventually can just collapse, okay? So especially caregivers that are taking care of other people, it's very, very important that you take care of yourselves and make sure that your energy is as high as possible, that your attitude is as positive as possible, and just that you're able to sustain the situation as best as possible, okay? So what basically are we managing? You know, when I say self-management, what actually are we managing? So first of all, we're managing our focus. Okay, focus is where we put our attention. Now, what we manage here mainly is how focused we are on what's going on outside in reality versus how focused we are on what's going on inside us, in our body, in our emotions, in our families, and so on, okay? Second, we're managing our functionality, okay? We have to look at the actions, the things that we do during the day, and how we prioritize our assignments, okay? It may be that in the current situation, you want to prioritize your assignments differently. Things that may have been important before the latest events are not so important anymore. And there are other things that are more important, okay? So you need to sort of look at all your assignments and see which is more important than what. And the third thing we're managing is our energy and resources. And as I said before, if we don't monitor our energy and resources, we can easily end up depleted and eventually collapse. And you have to understand that each person has a different threshold in terms of how much stress and how much load they can handle before they collapse. So you really need to pay attention to where your threshold is and how much stress you can handle and how much stress just feels like it's too much. And you have to be able to stop and take a break before you reach the edge, before you reach your threshold. Okay? Now, just a wee bit of background. When we talk about the inner world, there are two main players. There's the rational mind, the part where we think logically, and there are emotions. Now, in regular times, when we talk about balance between emotions and the rational mind, there's a lot of talk about the importance of connecting to emotions, allowing them to be present, learning how to listen to and express emotions. There's a lot of talk about feelings and intuition and listening to ourselves and not always going by the rational mind. But the problem is in crisis situations that emotions are very strong. And the automatic and natural tendency is for emotions to take over the rational mind and overwhelm us, okay? And that is exactly why we're seeing so much anxiety and hysteria and panic and depression now at this time. And that is, it's very common even in people that weren't directly involved in the October 7th attack. It's almost like there's this cloud of emotion that's on Israel, and everybody is very emotional and very upset. Now, there are many very good reasons for that, but it's making functionality all the more challenging, okay? Now, the one who can control emotions is the rational mind. So we've got emotions and we've got the rational mind, and each of them have their own language and their own personality, so to speak. And the stronger one that can manage emotions is actually the rational mind. Therefore, in crisis situations, we want to make sure that the rational mind is strong so it can manage the emotions. And also because the rational mind directs us to more reasonable, down-to-earth, solid, practical actions and solutions, okay, which is what we need to a great extent in crisis situations. Now, I do want to say that that doesn't mean that I recommend you suppress or ignore negative emotions. Not at all. Emotions need to be expressed because otherwise they get stuck in the body and they can cause disease. But if your emotions are so intense that they overwhelm you, or I've seen extreme cases where emotions just paralyze people, or cause, extreme panic attacks, then they definitely need to be managed. And it's the rational mind that knows how to do that by telling us what actions we can do to make ourselves feel better. Okay? So that's what I mean when I say self-management. If we just let the automatic systems work on automatic, then there's a high chance we'll just be overwhelmed by all the emotions, because the emotions are very up, they're very out there, they're very strong. The whole situation is very charged emotionally, okay? So therefore, we have to learn how to do things to manage ourselves in the situation and not let all this emotionality just kind of overwhelm us and disrupt our functionality, because there's no extra benefit by being very, very emotional about it, even though there are benefits to expressing emotions. But expressing emotions doesn't mean that they just take control and you lose your functionality. Okay, so it's like there's a fine line there where we have to balance between allowing the emotions to be there and realizing that I'm sad or I'm depressed or I'm fearful or whatever, and yet not letting those emotions lead my life or lead what I'm doing. Okay, it's like there's a fine line there, and that's the work we have to do, is find that fine line. Okay, so far, any questions? How you guys doing?
No questions in the chat. If anybody wants to open his mic, so raise your hand and we'll ask you to unmute. And maybe Joan, I will ask everybody with where they live. You can write down where you live if you were evacuated from your homes. Just let us know if you want to share it. Okay. So if there are no questions, nobody raised his hand, so you can move on.
Tell me if you resonate with what I'm saying. I mean, do you connect to what I'm saying about this over emotionality and having a hard time just kind of handling the emotions that are coming up? I mean, do you relate to that? Any of you?
Somebody's writing, good evening everyone. I'm here in שדה נחמיה, קריית שמונה.
Okay. And Maria, do you relate to what I'm saying with this over emotionality? Do you see that around you? Yes. Okay. Good. Well, I hope the other people do also. I'm going to continue. Okay. So I want to give you very specific recommendations that you can do to kind of organize yourself, or as we say in the US, kind of collect yourself and be more functional. Okay. So the first recommendation is to regulate your exposure to news and current affairs. And that also relates to the time you spend on social media. Now, I understand that we all have a need to know what's going on, but what's going on is not pleasant. It's very harsh energy. So, and we don't have to be in it 24/7 to know what's happening. So what I suggest is that you decide on a certain amount of time every day where you go in and you find out what the news is and what's happening. But make sure that you're not overwhelmed. I want to share with you that I don't have a television in my house. I don't watch television. And on October 7th, I was actually at the Dead Sea, and I had to stay a night because I couldn't get back to Ashkelon. And I was a guest in a house where the television was just going all the time. So I was exposed to the television for about 5 or 6 hours. and I couldn't fall asleep at night. And it just felt like this energy out of the TV kind of hit me, and my system wasn't used to it. Okay. You have to understand that the energy of what's going on and how it's delivered is very, very strong. And different people can handle it in different dosages. Okay. So you want to make sure that you regulate the amount of exposure so that it doesn't overwhelm you. And as I said, that includes the television, online news, social media, anything that exposes you to this war type energy. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is we need to regulate the three basic needs. The three basic needs are food, sleep, and movement. Okay, and when we're not in our regular routines, often these three basic needs get disrupted. Okay, we usually eat a lot more junk food, more sugar, more caffeine, more carbohydrates, all of which extremely weaken the immune system. Okay, so we want to try and organize our nutrition, our food, so that we have at least 2 meals a day, and we want to get fresh, healthy food as much as possible. Often people who are at home, they nosh more and they eat all kinds of things that are not as healthy. And we really want to be aware of that and try and eliminate them as much as possible and really get nutritious food as much as possible. Sleep is extremely essential for health and well-being. I once heard an integrative oncologist, it's a doctor who works with cancer patients, who said that if you really want to disrupt the immune system and encourage the development of disease in the body, disrupt somebody's sleep. Okay, and she said when people come to her office, the first thing that she addresses is sleep. Okay, sleep is very, very important. So if you have problems sleeping, you definitely want to address that. And there are a couple things you can do to help yourself fall asleep. One is listening to guided meditation, which you can easily find online on YouTube and all kinds of other platforms. You can listen to calm music. And also at the end of this meeting, I plan to do a practice together, and you'll have it on the recording, and you can use that. Okay, but you need to understand that sleeping is very, very important for health and well-being. Now about movement. I mentioned earlier that movement is crucial to break down stress hormones. Physical activity, meaning any kind of sports or movement, is extremely beneficial for many other reasons. For example, when we exercise, the brain secretes what we call happy hormones, which are hormones that literally make us feel good, which is why after people work out, there's this high that they kind of feel. And so moving the body in any way, if it's sports, dancing, walking, or any other way, is crucial for stress. And what happens, it also happened in the COVID and the lockdowns, it was the same phenomena. And now with the war, where everybody is basically sort of locked down in their houses and in the security areas, people aren't moving enough. They're just not moving enough. And it's a huge issue because it really, really weakens the immune system, and it causes the stress to build up in the body. Okay. Now, there are areas in the country still where you can't really go out freely 100%, but there are so many options online to do workouts of all kinds at home. There's yoga classes and Pilates classes aerobics classes, and you don't need a lot of time to do them, and you don't need a lot of space either. But it's very important not to be lazy and not to just lay around on the couch all day. You've got to move your body, you got to stretch your body, you got to strain your muscles a little bit and try and get your pulse up as much as possible. I know that for some people, exercise is like a dirty word, but it's really incredible how the body really does need movement to feel good and function well. Okay, so we want to make sure we get healthy food, enough sleep, and that we move, that there's movement. Okay, I think there was a question. No, okay.
Yeah, it was a comment in the chat, but I don't see it anymore. So maybe it was removed by accidentally or not. So if somebody want to ask it or write it again, so please. Yes, now I see it.
Oh, now I see it. Okay.
Okay. And I see that raised hand. So if you want to speak up, so you can open your mic and ask this question. So Joan, for your...
I'm reading it. I'll sum it up real quick.
Okay. Good evening. I just want to ask, how are we going to cope up stress during exposure? We are far from the war zone, but during the rocket interception, during the siren, it made us really stressed and anxiety. We are really feel anxiety and we couldn't sleep at night, especially when the siren starts in the evening. So how are we going to cope up with it?
Okay, I will get to that. Let's see what your name is. Lot?
Remelin.
Evelyn?
Yes.
Okay, Evelyn, I will get to that. But part of what I'm talking about is that if you take care of yourself on a daily basis so that your coping mechanisms and your immune system is strong or stronger, it will also deal better with the acute situations like with the sirens. Okay, now with the sirens, the most important thing is to know what you need to do. Because there are very certain actions that you need to know how to do, and I understand that you know how to do them. And I can also understand that there's an extra stress because you're responsible for somebody else.
Yes.
But if you focus on action, okay, you've got to get the person you're caring for and yourself into the security area, and you need to know, where it is and how you get there and have everything ready. So if the sirens go off, you're just ready to go and you know what you need to do. You don't have to think about it, and be focused in the action, not on all the emotions and what's going through your mind. And as I said, if you sustain yourself at a higher level of immunity, it'll be easier for you to deal with the acute situations.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I also want to comment. You said there's another question here that's in what you wrote, and that is, what happens if I'm not physically able to do exercise? And my answer to that is that there's no question that exercise has to be suited to each person's physical situation. Okay, so if any of you suffer from any kind of ailments in the body, then obviously you would have to do exercise routines that are suitable to your condition. But the body really needs movement. So even if it's just very moderate movement, okay, walking back and forth in an area, or just, kind of picking up your arms or just stretching very lightly, even that is better than nothing. Okay. And yes, there are people who cannot do all kinds of exercises, and I agree with that 100%. But not doing any kind of movement, not moving the body at all, is worse for the body, because the movement helps it to heal and helps it to be stronger. And being stronger means that it'll deal better with whatever it's dealing with, whatever your condition is. Okay, so when you don't feel well, it's very easy to say, oh, I don't feel like it, I don't have strength to do it. But you kind of have to overcome that and try and move as much as you can. Okay? I'm having trouble sleeping after the siren. Yes, I can understand that. In fact, I know it personally, because when the siren goes off, the body starts secreting adrenaline so that you can move fast into the security area. And it can take, a while until the adrenaline goes down and you can relax and fall back to sleep. It's totally normal. There really is no magic that'll fix it instantly, because the adrenaline is needed in the body. But if you have a calm music, or even a meditation or something to do to help you relax back into the sleep state, that could be very, very helpful. Okay, but when the sirens go off during the night, it disrupts sleep. There's no question about that. We know that very well here in Ashkelon. Okay, does that answer your question? Right? RY? Okay, so let's move on. Keeping daily routines. Okay, disruption of daily routine often causes a feeling of chaos, especially if children are at home. There are still places where the educational system is not yet reopened. So keeping daily routines is very, very important. It's important to try and create some sort of daily routine to hang on to, even within the limitations you're dealing with. And again, we're focusing on what is in our control, not on what is out of our control. Okay, you may create a routine and there'll be a siren and it'll get disrupted. That's just the way it is. Okay, that's not in our control. But make sure that you get up in the morning and you know what you're doing in the morning, and you know what you're doing later on in the day, and when you're eating your meals, as best as possible, because routine creates a sense of order, which gives us a better sense of control. Okay, so we want to try and create routines. Another thing is we want to try and be in the here and now. And that means that we don't want to start thinking about what'll be next month, what'll be next week, how are we going to do this in the future. In the here and now. And I have a sentence that I really like, and I use myself, and I say to myself, in this moment, I am okay. In this moment, right now, I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm lecturing here. We're together in the Zoom, and I'm okay, right? What'll be when I finish the lecture? Will there be a siren? I don't know. I'll handle that if that happens. But right now, I'm perfectly fine. And when I keep saying that to myself, it goes in, okay? And right now I'm okay. And in a minute from now, I'm still fine. And another minute goes by and I'm still fine. And all those minutes connect together. And all of a sudden I realize that I'm really okay. It's been an hour. It's been a half a day. It's been a day. Okay, there have been sirens, there have been all kinds of issues, but I'm okay. I'm here with you and I'm okay. And just keep saying that to yourself. In this moment, I'm okay. Now, another thing to help you be in the here and now is to keep the mind busy. The mind loves to create scenarios. And the tendency is to create bad scenarios because the mind prefers to be prepared. And we want to make sure that we don't allow the mind to go there. We want to keep the mind busy in things that make us feel good, that are beneficial. Okay? Do you hear me? Okay, so we want to keep the mind busy. We want to help others in need. When we help others, we're less focused on our own challenges. And helping others makes us feel good and significant. So, I mean, you by definition are helping other people, but, you know, sometimes just somebody down the road or in your building or where you can very easily just, you know, reach out and help in something small and feel good that you were there for others. We also want to collaborate. Okay, we want to work together as groups. You know, you can create, let's say, a WhatsApp group of caregivers. And, you know, if somebody is stressed or if somebody has a problem and you can see how you can help each other, there's a lot of power in collaboration and getting people together and doing things together and supporting each other. I also recommend that you do something that makes you feel good once a day. You know, a lot of people these days feel very egoistic about taking care of themselves. They say, you know, there's so much going on and so many people are dealing with such difficult things. Who am I to feel good? And this is a huge mistake because, as I said, we each have to take care of ourselves so we can sustain the situation and be there for others. Think, you're responsible for other people. You have to make sure that you're there, that you're strong, that you're positive, that you're functional. Okay? So if you do one thing a day, just because it makes you feel good, because it makes you smile, because it gives you a good mood, that's a huge boost. Okay? And it also makes room in the day for you. Okay? Breathing, meditation and visualization, we're going to do together in a minute. I want to recommend that you spend time outdoors in the sun. Sun is very, very energizing and rejuvenating and very healthy for the immune system. You don't have to be outdoors in the heat of the day, but to get some kind of sunshine. And if you're outside and you can go walk barefoot on the ground, it's a very interesting topic because it causes an effect of grounding, which grounds stress, it grounds inflammation. Very healthy to walk barefoot on the ground. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about dealing with anxiety, but I just want to check with Rachel. We're going to go overtime. I can see already. Is that okay?
Let's try to keep on time because we have another webinar.
Okay, so I'll talk real quick about anxiety, which I think is one of the most common emotion at this time. Now, anxiety is an energy that pulls up. It's like, so the energy is going up and it gets all stuck up here in the chest. So when we talk about dealing with anxiety, there are three aspects. One is grounding the energy, meaning pulling it down towards the ground. We want to let go of the anxiety, and then we want to try and maintain balance so that we don't go into anxiety again. Okay, so I want to teach you two simple ways to ground the energy. And this is also good for the woman that asked about the stress with the sirens. Okay, whenever you feel the stress going up, like it goes up to the chest, you want to bring the energy down. So one way of doing it is hugging yourself so that your hands are on your opposite arms, and all you do is tap the arms. Can you see me? I'm doing it.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so you just tap it 25 times or more. And what that does is it brings the focus back into the physical body, and that helps ground the energy. Okay, so you have a picture here, which you can go back to in the recording, and you have me doing it. That's one way of grounding. The other way of grounding is if we take one hand, put it on our chest. Here, I'll get up a minute. And the other hand on our stomach. Can you see me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So one hand on your chest, one hand on your stomach. And we regulate our breathing. Regulate your breathing means that you count to 3 when you inhale, when you take in air, and when you exhale, when you breathe the air out. And what that does is it makes the breathing very, very stable and unified. Okay? Do it with me. Why don't you open your camera so I can see that you're doing it right? Is that possible? Okay, so we've got one hand on our chest and one hand on our tummy, on our stomach. Okay, and close your eyes and take in air while you count to 3 in your heart. Okay, so go 1, 2, 3 in, and 1, 2, 3 air out. Okay, again, in, 1, 2, 3, and out. 1, 2, 3. That helps ground the energy. Okay, that's easy to do, isn't it? Hello, anybody there? Is that easy?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
it's easy.
Good, good. Okay, so we grounded the energy. We either did tapping, right? Or we breathed with our hands on our chest and our tummy. Now we want to let go of the anxiety. Okay, so I'm here and I'm noticing where I feel the anxiety most strongly in the body. Okay, do I feel it in my chest? Do I feel it here in my diaphragm? Do I feel it in my stomach? Do I feel it in my head? Okay, where do I feel the anxiety? And what I do is in my mind, I imagine that when I breathe, I'm sending the air to the area in my body where I feel the anxiety. Okay, so let's say I feel the anxiety in my stomach. Okay, this place a lot of people feel anxiety. So I take in air, and in my mind, I imagine that that air is going to my stomach. And when I breathe out the air, I breathe out the anxiety. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, so I take in the air and I send it to the place in my body where I feel the anxiety. And that air collects the anxiety, and then I breathe it out. And I do that again and again and again, as many times needed, until I start feeling like the energy, the feeling of anxiety is going down. Okay, is that clear? Edna, I'm going to ask you because I can see your face. Is that clear?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What did you say?
Yes.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Good. I'm glad. Okay, now, in order to maintain that balance, we have to make a list of things that calm us and energize us and empower us, and do one thing from the list every day. Okay, so after we let go of the anxiety, we want to make sure that the body feels good inside, because if the body feels good, it will go into anxiety less. Okay, so there's a balance here. If like the woman who talked about the stress with the sirens, okay, that's very natural. It's very normal. And it's logical because it's survival. Okay, that's cool. So then we get all stressed up. But now I know how to calm myself. I can breathe and ground it like we learned. I can tap. I can breathe out the anxiety, okay? And I can do things to make myself feel better. Okay, do you see where I'm taking this? So again, it brings us back to the self-management. If we let our system go on automatic, then it'll take us to stress and anxiety because the situation is stressful. But if we're strong and we say, no, I'm going to ground the energy, I have tools, I know how to do that, and I can let go of the anxiety, and I can make sure my body feels good and strong. I'm the boss. I decide, I make sure I feel good. And then the stress in the outside will not affect me as much. Okay? Are we making sense?
Yes.
Good. Optimism and humor. The situation isn't at all humorous. It's not funny at all. But it's really important to find things to laugh about because laughter helps keep a positive mindset, which is really important in situations like this. And see the good outcomes that can come out of things. Find little things to laugh about. Laughter breaks down stress very easily. So you can watch a funny movie, okay? Read a funny book, tell jokes, just get the humor going, okay? Otherwise, you just silk into sadness and depression. And okay? I do want to mention one natural aid. I must say I don't sell it. I have no interest in it, but I think it's important to be familiar with the rescue remedy. It's a natural homeopathic remedy that you can get anywhere over the counter. Very, very useful for acute stress situations. It's not very expensive, very easy to use. You put a few drops on your tongue, and it can help you get through the acute situations. Okay? Okay, so the last two things before we go into practice is do your best not to reach the edge. The more you plan ahead, the more you prepare, the more you're organized, you know what you're doing, how you're doing, you have order, you take care of yourself, you won't reach the edge. When people reach the edge, they start falling apart. And we don't want to reach the edge. And the other thing is do the best you can. If I understood correctly, some of you may have been evacuated. Some of you may not have been evacuated. You're probably all over the country in different situations. We all do the best we can. You're going to have better days and you're going to have not so good days. And that's just how it is. But if you follow the tools and you follow the guidelines, then even if you had a bad day, then you know how to get yourself back on track. Okay? So there's a few questions in the chat, and I really want us to do a practice together. It was easy to do. Good. Thanks, Maria. Did I miss anything here?
No. You can go to practice.
Okay. So I want you all to sit back, like wherever you are, kind of sit back so you can be comfortable and kind of let your shoulders drop easily. Okay, I'm going to turn a little music on. And all you have to do is close your eyes and follow my guidelines. I'll guide you through it. Okay? So we've closed our eyes. And I just want, you don't have to do anything special. Just breathe naturally, but notice your breath. Just bring your focus inward and notice your breath. And just notice how deep it is. Is your breath deep or shallow? Is it fast? Are you breathing fast or are you breathing slow? And just notice how your body feels. Are you tense? Are you relaxed? Are there areas in your body that feel tense or contracted? Just notice what is. Okay? Now, I want you to start counting in your head. I want you to count 3 for inhale when you take in air, and 3 for exhale when you breathe out air. Okay, 3 inhale, and 3 for the exhale. Okay, so that the inhale and the exhale are the same length of time. It's very, very unified, very stable. Keep on counting. Okay. And notice how your breathing, this new breathing, creates a wave in the body that becomes very pleasant. And let the body get used to this new rhythm. And you're focused on counting. That's all you're doing. You're just counting and breathing. Okay? You're counting and you're breathing. That's all you're doing. But it's very relaxed. It's very calming. And it's very easy. Okay? Now, I'd like you to visualize, see in your mind, that when you take in air, you also take in a pastel, like sky-colored blue. A blue that's very calming. Okay? You're taking blue in. And when you're exhaling, when you let air out, you're letting out brown or gray that represents stress and fear and negative feelings. So you're breathing in sky blue, representing serenity, tranquility, and peace. And you're exhaling stress and tiredness and pain and negative emotions. Okay? Now I want you to send the sky blue to your legs. I want you to fill your legs with that sky blue energy. And I want you to exhale out all the stress from your legs. And just let your muscles become relaxed. They may become heavy, but that's fine. Just let them relax. Your feet, your calves, your thighs. Okay, now inhale sky blue and send it to your back and your buttocks. And we want to exhale out all the stress and the discomfort from the back. And just notice how your back muscles become more relaxed and soft. Okay. Now send the sky blue energy of serenity and peace to your stomach and chest area. Bring peace to all your inner organs and all the chest organs. And exhale out all the stress and anxiety you have in your stomach. Okay. Now send sky blue energy to your neck, your shoulders, and your arms. The neck gets very contracted from stress. Just breathe out all that stress. Let it go. Let your shoulders just kind of rest, relaxed and easy. Okay. Now send sky blue energy to your jaws, the bones by your mouth. To your temples, the bones by your eyes. Send sky blue energy into your skull, into the brain, into that area where all we do is think and think and think, and let the sky blue energy bring peace to your mind, to your thoughts. So there's more calm in your mind. And just breathe out all the negative thoughts and all the scenarios and all the fears and the worries. Just exhale that all out. And now just sit with peace in your body. Keep on breathing, keep on counting. And just notice how your body feels now. Okay? Notice that it's more relaxed. It's calmer. You breathe more easily. Okay? Just be with that for a minute. Now bring your focus back into the room where you're sitting. Notice the feeling of your back on the back of the chair or your feet on the ground. Take 2 or 3 deep breaths. Fill your lungs and your stomach. And slowly, slowly come back to the here and now and open your eyes. How are we doing? Hello, everybody.
Wow. I will thank you personally for being much more relaxed than I started this session.
Anybody want to share how you feel? Was that easy? Was it not easy? Okay.
It's really very good for my body.
I'm glad.
Relaxed than ever before.
I'm glad to hear. And you'll have the recording so you can do it again.
I will. Thank you so much.
With love. Let me just see what's in the chat. It's
Many
good.
thanks.
I almost fell asleep. You see, if you had questions about how to help yourself sleep, so there you got an answer. You can use this to sleep. It's very, very relaxing, and as you see, it's very easy. It's very easy, and anybody can do it.
I will thank you, Joan. I will thank everybody. I will post the recording